Hi, everyone at home. Welcome to Forbidden Planet TV. I'm Laura Dodd. I'm the head book buyer for Forbidden Planet, and I'm joined today by two of my absolute favorite horror authors and a cat, Rachel Harrison and Mcleod Chapman. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
I am so glad we managed to work out a date and time because obviously trying to harangue people in the nicest possible way is tricky. So, yes. So, what can you tell anyone out there who hasn't picked up any of your other titles? What can you tell them about your newest books? So, Rachel, we'll go to you first.
Sure. So Black Sheep is a irreverent horror novel about Vesper Wright, who left home the day she turned 18 and has been estranged from her extremely religious family. And it's the kind of religious family where when you leave, you're not welcome to come back. But then one day she receives an invitation to her cousin slash best friend, Rosemary's wedding. And it's on her family farm. And she is curious about returning home. She's reluctant, but Rosemary is wedding Vesper's first and only love, her ex-boyfriend, Brody. And so out of spite, she returns home and discovers some family skeletons, family secrets, and things go south from there.
Right. Clay, it's all down to you. Take it away.
Okay. What kind of mother is a beachy, sudsy, summery read about a, a young woman who's had a hard life. She's kind of raised her daughter on her own. She's getting by, making ends meet by, reading people's palms at the local farmers market in her small, kind of quaint, southern coastal Chesapeake Bay hometown. And when she's there reading palms and telling people's fortunes, she re-encounters an old flame from her past. And it's been years since she saw her old lover, Henry, and the two of them reconnect, and sparks fly, some psychic, some not, and beautiful things happen, much like Mother Nature.
No.
And it
Well,
all
kind of.
ends happily ever after.
No. Mm,
No.
yeah.
Fans of Nicholas Sparks will love this book.
If
Say like the devil may care attitude of
it's the setup of a Nicholas Sparks novel, but the ending of a Mcleod Chapman novel, which is scary as heck and visceral and atmospheric and heartbreaking and moving and smart.
Yeah, but you know how pissed off people are? Ticked off, pardon me. I hope this is
Oh
YouTube. I
no,
hope we're
no,
not in trouble. Okay,
you can
we're
say whatever
fine.
you need to say.
It's amazing how I think what's nice about Rachel and I being able to kind of talk about our books is that we can't talk about our books to a certain extent. Like there's like a point, there's there's a line where we have to say, and then stuff happens.
Things happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And and there's this pact that I feel like, we're hoping to make with readers where, honestly, the more blind you are going in, the better. And I think Rachel does this. I think Black Sheep does this. I hope What Kind of Mother does this, where it's like there's a certain trap that is set. It's a literary snare that you walk in and you kind of enter into these books, these stories, and there's kind of like, oh wow, I'm getting to know the world that I'm in, and I'm getting to know these characters, and this is great. And then incrementally you slowly start to feel the walls closing in around you, and once you recognize that you are caught, it's too late, or hopefully it's too late. um and I feel like, that is a big risk for books these days, because I think people really want to know what they're getting themselves into. And I think with What Kind of Mother, at least, I won't speak for Black Sheep, but it's like, I just want like, because like I feel like I've read a few too many reviews where people are like, I love the first half, but I hated the second half. And it's like, there's that weird feeling of like, you make a bargain, and if there's a kind of assumption or presumption, or this is an expectation, I'm expecting this to be the book that I am reading, and then the author kind of pulls that rug out from underneath your feet, you can feel something uncertain, and it's kind of like, whoa, like, the ground that is underneath me is not as solid as I felt before or assumed. And I love when a book does that, but it's like, it's hard to go into a book cold, because more often than not, you want to feel safe, you want to feel that safety net, you want to feel that you're getting what you expect. And if you don't, if you're in capable hands, the author will catch you, or drop you on the floor.
Yeah, I think that that's something I've really enjoyed about both of these books, is it starts off with a kind of familiarity, like you can be like, I've been in these kind of situations, or you get into these kind of conversations with people, with family especially, and then when you guys go left, you go like hard left, and it's just like, oh sweet Jesus, okay, okay, I don't know this. But the fact that you've been kind of lulled into that false sense of security, and you think you know where something's going and you don't, is
Yeah.
amazing. It's amazing to read. I know as well, in particular, I think with Rachel's books, that you've obviously focused a lot on kind of female characters, and definitely at different points of their life, and kind of looking back at friendships and looking back at the relationships, between a mother and daughter, for example, which is also kind of very important. I think, is that kind of an important thing for you to kind of, I don't know, almost like a therapy session in itself, that you kind of like, hey, this is for the women who've been through some stuff.
I keep hoping that my books I keep writing instead of going to therapy. And I'll finish a book and it'll feel cathartic, and I'll be like, I've solved that problem. And then a few months down the line, I'll be like, nope, I didn't.
And then you write the sequel.
Yeah. I do think I write about relationships. I write from my own experience and attempt to exercise demons. But I write for myself, but ultimately I want my books to feel relatable. And so it's important for me to explore relationships and to kind of be what I hate, which is vulnerable, and expose some of the things in my life that I feel ashamed of, or ugly emotions. I think, especially, starting out writing The Return, I wanted to write about jealousy in friendships. I wanted to write about, the painful side of the beautiful aspects of the relationships I have in my life. So it's important for me to do that in all of my books, and with the goal of, figuring attempting to figure things out for myself, and also hoping that somebody else can read it and feel like, oh my gosh, I've felt this way. I feel understood. I feel, validated. And that's why I put my work out into the world.
Yeah, it's very noticeable. I think obviously reading kind of both of your books, it's yeah, there's just some incredible relationships in there. And even if you haven't been through that exact experience, you almost kind of feel that someone's kind of, yeah, giving you a hug or giving you a pat on the back and just saying, yeah, that, you know, we'll figure this out some way, some way or the other. We'll figure this out. Um, I suppose as well, the kind of one of the common themes between both of these books is I suppose the very different ideas of kind of motherhood and how that looks. Um, so how did you both kind of start with that relationship? Because obviously in Clay, in your book, the one of the characters, you obviously have Maddie, who is a mother, but you also have, I suppose, kind of the missing character of Grace, being like the other kind of um mother who is mentioned, but you know, almost like a kind of ghost of
Yeah.
person. Yeah, where do those characters start for you?
I'm a mama's boy. That's, I mean, I was raised by my mother, single parent family. Never met my dad. Dad's just didn't enter into the picture. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, like, and my mom she was a potter. She's retired now, you know, does it on her own free time, but doesn't have to support a kid doing it. But you know, where the character of Maddie came from, you know, I kind of like stumbled into this accidentally or subconsciously, where like, you know, Maddie's one of these characters who has a craft. She works with her hands, and she provides this kind of service that others kind of come to her for. And you know, my mom kind of did the same thing, where you know, for years, you know, she would make these things, and you know, I remember growing up in that kind of environment of like, you know, this is my job, this is my calling, this is my livelihood, this is how we're putting food on the table. This is how we're eating the food with the plates. I made the plates that were, you know, my mom made this mug. Like it's just like this is quite literally like, you know, so it's just kind of seeped itself into my subconscious. And, you know, my Maddie is not my mom. Uh you know, as a parent now for myself, you know, I think that um, writing the book was more an effort to say, parenting's tough. And I, as a dad, have made all the wrong decisions. And I continue to kind of screw up my kids like on a daily basis. And like, it's so tough to like navigate and survive that at the end of the day, it's kind of a miracle that like our kids aren't all maladjusted, you know, little runts. So, you know, in a lot of ways, Maddie's character and What Kind of Mother was just this attempt to maybe pay a little lip service to my mom, but also kind of like talk about the kind of internal struggles of, you know, even when your heart is in the right place, sometimes you just screw those kids up.
And there's obviously a very interesting relationship in Black Sheep between Vesper and her bomb. So is that based on any particular?
No, like Constance is nothing like my mom. Um, but I wanted to write a mom character. Don't eat my headphones, Gatsby. Thank you. Sorry. Um, I wanted to write a mother character that wasn't maternal at all. Um, because I feel like a lot of times if a, a mother character is a bad mother, she doesn't want to be a mom, if she's, you know, whatever bad mom means, she's immediately unlikable. And I wanted to kind of lean into that with Constance and create a character who was complicated and nuanced and mysterious and withholding, but also kind of like badass and cool. She's like a horror film star. Scream Queen. So I wanted to challenge the idea of like what it means to have a mother character who's like 0% maternal and present that in a book. Because I don't think it's shown often enough. And I just love a challenging character, a character who's not who's hard to root for. And I like putting them on the page and trying to make the reader root for them anyway.
Your mother is totally going to watch this, isn't she?
Yeah.
She's watched when this she's watching us right now, and I'm I'm curious, does she ever, I mean, like, have you guys had the conversation where she'll be like, Rachel, I've had to tell my friends that it's not me. I'm not Constance. This is not my
Anybody who knows her, it's so obvious that it's not her. But yeah, she's my mom's a huge horror reader too. She loves Clay's books, but now we joke that Nat's her favorite child, Nat Cassidy. She drove to Pennsylvania from New Jersey to go see him.
Wow. Okay.
dead to me. Dead. Just
So
my heart is empty.
but no,
Second
my mom
place
is
feels-
just like my mom's very lovely and warm. So it's pretty obvious to everybody that she's not the mother characters in my stories.
And it's funny, you obviously mentioned there kind of New York. That's definitely feels a place that both of you kind of use in your books, or the kind of the idea of because Clay, you live in New York, yeah?
Yeah, it's right out there
Right,
right now.
right outside. And obviously, Rachel, you have the kind of the idea of like leaving New York, going to like New Jersey and stuff. Is there a particular kind of love affair with New York? Is that almost like a character in itself in your books?
I'm
Anybody, so
emotionally stunted. I can't write about New York for another 5 or 10 years. I'm like, I'm on an emotional delay. So I've lived here for 20 years and I still can't write about it.
I mean, I struggled a lot with leaving because I lived in Brooklyn for 10 years and now I still live in New York State, but I live pretty far from the city. So I think there was a struggle for me with in my mind, living in New York was the dream and living in New York was success. Like if I just stuck it out there, that was my dream. I live in New York, so some part of my dream is fulfilled living. I was like working jobs I didn't like. I was struggling to make ends meet. I was taking laundry to the laundromat at 6 a.m. on a Friday because it's the only time you could get, like, it wasn't like dreamy in actuality, but I struggled a lot with leaving. And so I think a lot of my books have that idea of like, if I'm leaving, the pain of leaving the city, which was hard for me to do. And I'm happy I still miss it, but it's pretty obvious in my books that's, and I think pretty much every one of my books where it's like, I'm leaving New York City, help me.
Do you know what you missed today, Rachel? Do you know what you lost?
Oh
Like,
gosh, what?
I saw 2 rats tug of warring over like a pigeon's wing.
Aww.
They were like, like they wanted to, like one had it like in his mouth and the other one like, so I mean,
City of dream.
that's what's happening out
Yeah.
there.
Good old New York.
That would make one hell of a like Valentine's card, wouldn't it? With Valentine's
Yeah.
Day coming up, just 2 rats fighting
I'd share this
everywhere.
pigeon wing with you.
Yeah.
You are the wind beneath my wings.
Yeah, too good. I think I've had like, I suppose the opposite thing here. I grew up in the countryside, and then obviously you're just like, if you want to, especially work in publishing or books, you kind of have to be in London. And now I couldn't imagine not being at least kind of near London, just to kind of feel you're part of something. But yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. So do you think you'd ever move back to New York? Like New York, New York?
I moved to London. London is my favorite
Yes!
city in the world.
More people come here.
And my husband has citizenship, so maybe someday. But for now I'm here. Now I'm used to the quiet. Now I like the quiet. So I don't know. Maybe I'm a country bumpkin now.
Is there snow outside your window right now?
Actually, no.
Really?
Yeah. So actually like it's like in the 40s today.
Mm. Did you go for a walk in the field across the street?
Not yet. Haven't been out for my field walk yet.
Your daily constitutional.
Yeah.
So we have to with both books, we have to kind of look at the ideas of the kind of community feeling to it, which also feels very important, that there's groups of people who are existing outside of the book, who have lived in these areas for years, who are friends, who are getting married, all kinds of things. So we obviously have the Molly, May, and like Charlene and stuff, all existing at the farmer's market, or you can just see those characters so clearly. Yeah, where did these kind of characters come from, and are they based on anyone you actually know?
Absolutely. I mean, the farmers market mafia does exist. I mean, I think they almost exist in every farmers market out there. There's the lawn chair, the row of elderly folks who just kind of use this as their opportunity to kind of like hold court. I grew up down south here in the States, grew up in the state of Virginia. A lot of the places that are written about and what kind of mother are, they're just places that I have been and lived and traveled. And yeah, so I have been to that farmer's market time and time again. And I have seen those women and they have seen me and they have passed judgment. And I'm just thankful that they will never read my book.
Mm.
You don't want them to? Like part of you doesn't want.
I mean, it's so funny. I've never talked about this. It doesn't matter. It's so silly. I wrote a story uh, like Charlene, the head, like the she's a reoccurring character. I wrote this story called B-side, and she showed up at another farmer's market. So like it's just that weird like Easter eggy thing that like nobody cares about. So I'm just gonna talk about it now so that someone pays attention. But that weird feeling of like, oh, this is like you just have those characters that like live on and like you're like, oh, I'm like Charlene's gonna pay a visit again in this book, and now she's got an entourage, and yeah, but I don't think she would. I don't think she's alive anymore for one thing. So she was pushing the year up the years, last time I saw her, and that was a long time ago. So if you're out there, Charlene, or whatever your name is, I hope that you're looking down on me and not passing judgment too much. But your legacy lives on.
And you definitely have the same kind of feel in Black Sheep, but especially in Cackle, where you have that community and they're all kind of
Farmers market people in Cackle. Yeah.
yeah.
The people at the farmers market in Cackle are a little bit more pleasant and friendly than What Kind of Mother. I'd probably rather go to the farmers market in Cackle than the one in What Kind of Mother.
You just like exchange farmer market characters. Like
Yeah.
And there's no assignment here, but maybe the next book, like I know that the next book is already kind of, but like if there's
The book
another
after that.
like if there's just one little scene, a little name drop, a little Easter egg of Cackle, I'll put it in. I will totally do it. I will
Are we
totally.
going to start Easter egging each other's books? We
I
should.
will. I
We
will. I mean, at
should.
this point, like, why
We're on
not?
the same cycle, so it's like a book a year, you know.
No pressure, but or you could always do like an anthology, and each chapter, like each story, is a different person at the same farmer's market.
Oh my God.
Really
Ah,
expand it out.
What
So
if we just took like, you can't tell me who and I won't tell you who, but let's just pick a side character, like a C-list character from each other's books, and then tell their story. Like it's like
yeah,
I would totally do like one of the bros who gets like
the nacho
nacho
cheese, bro.
cheesed nacho cheese, bro. Never going to that restaurant again, bro. Like his like side of his face is like
It's just-
scarred forever.
What
The cheese
happened?
scars.
Cheese.
What happened to you, hon? I, I got scarred by volcanic nacho cheese,
Nacho
bro.
cheese. Oh gosh. Yeah.
oh my
Never
God.
can pick up a Tostito ever again after that day.
That's kind of that was pretty bad punishment. Like if I could never eat cheese again, that's such a tragedy, honestly.
But is
That's
that
probably the
cheese?
most horrifying thing I've ever written. Somebody who's been traumatized by cheese.
Mm.
Every time I look at a pizza, I break out in cold sweats. I can't do it anymore, man. I'm not going into that Pizza Hut.
Any like commercial during a football game, they're always showing hot cheese. It's a tough life.
Turn the TV off. It's a Velveeta commercial. I can't do it, bro. Can't watch the Super Bowl.
Oh my God.
Don't do it, man. Put the nacho cheese down.
For anyone who doubts that I'm a capital H horror writer,
Yeah. We can
let
all
it be
like
known.
sympathize though. We've all like been into like a cheese toasty or something like way too soon.
That's my friend calls it pizza flap when you take a bite of pizza and you're too anxious and then you burn the roof of your mouth and it feels like she's like, oh, I got pizza flap.
And when it burns all the way down as well, like
Yeah.
it's really like yeah. But cheese is too good. What can we say? So um so I think an important part of both of the books are the kind of the relationships that you have in there, and the yeah, the kind of the idea of the first love, and almost like the kind of failed like first loves, and kind of the ghosts of what has come before. So yeah, where did the kind of those relationships start for you?
Rachel.
I think for Vesper, it the Brody, her ex-boyfriend, it was more that character came more out of function. Like I needed a reason for her to want to go home and what would pull her home. It wouldn't just be Rosie's wedding because she loves Rosie, but Vesper's tough and she would like she needed a story to tell herself about why she was going home. And the story she told herself was like I'm mad and I'm going to show up because I don't want them to have like to get married without seeing my face and remembering like he loved me first. So that was the story she needed to tell herself, because she would never admit to herself that she's going back for sentimental reasons. So Brody really came more as function, but he also represents the life that she could have had if she stayed. If she stayed, she would be the one marrying him. If she stayed, like they would have still been together in this. So he's more a character of like, he serves a purpose versus like, I mean, I try and make all of my characters well-rounded, and I think what Brody does is show that Vesper is capable of love. She's capable of, the same attraction emotion that the rest of us are. So it makes her a little bit more relatable. And I think Brody has to be attractive enough and like dynamic enough that the reader would understand why Vesper felt a certain way about him at some point in her life, but also I needed to show that he didn't understand her and the pain of that, of her being in love with somebody who was madly in love with her, but didn't know her, but didn't understand her, but wouldn't fully accept her because she didn't share the same belief system. And so that character had a lot of work to do in those functions, and also be somewhat charming.
Obviously, thank you, Clay, and thank you, Rachel, for joining me today for this lovely little chat about all things horror. We obviously have signed copies for people at home of both of these things, because you've very kindly done book plates for us. So when people have watched this, they should so order all of the books. So hopefully, come on, people. Yes.
Stay away from nacho cheese.
Yes.
And musicians.
And musicians.
Yes, you heard it here first. But we will see you soon on the next episode of Forbidden Planet TV. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.